think your overlay is still on. Okay, there we go.
Yep, just switching over. So we're getting into game one of the set with MadFnorder and Hyakinthus. Kana, thanks for letting me know that my audio is down. Let me see if I can adjust that a little bit higher. We've got Beheaded into Seijun um, this game, which is going to be an interesting one. I am still sort of having to shake some of the rust off where Seijun is concerned, but Beheaded is really good and Mad is a really good player, so I think even with the strengths that Seijun is bringing to the table, this is going to be a close match.
Yeah, I don't know much about Beheaded, but Seijun just naturally having the access to a lot of EXs, I think, will be a good advantage for her. One note is that Hyakinthus is the Seijun player in this match.
Juppies, would you do me a favor and say something just so that we can try to get the audio leveled out? Kana, let me know if this is any better.
Hello, my name is Juppies.
I think I might have turned it too far down. Okay, I'll continue to adjust that as the match goes on. So let's start the tradition now, Juppies. Early in the game, we haven't seen any damage exchanged yet. Who do you have for it?
I think I'm gonna bet on Seijun. I like Seijun a lot.
Okay, so I'll take the Mad side of this one. I know that Mad has been spending quite a bit of time labbing out Beheaded and trying to decide like where the optimal lines of play are for him. For those that don't know or haven't watched the video with D, Beheaded is a very interesting fighter. He's one of the promo or single box fighters that came out of season 4, and he has a unique mechanic where his Exceed mode is actually a one-time benefit that he gets, and it allows him to put a number of different traits into play. And these traits are pretty simple. They do things like this one here. This is tactics. It just gives all of his special and ultra attacks plus 0 to 1 range. But that's for the rest of the
I
match.
expect he'll be using that for this match because Seijun has a transform that extends her range as well.
Yeah, and I need to check to see. Yeah, so
Well,
he has all of
Seijun had a
these.
she did a really strong opening, what I refer to as jazz hands, I guess, in the community with that
Yeah,
EX
EX
dive
dive.
response. I wonder if she'll regret that later. I don't know what kind of boost Beheaded can threaten that she might want to dive out of.
He's got some strong ones, so let's see. What do we got? Oh, Mad tried to dodge out of it, but not quite. Hyakinthus taking an early 9 health lead.
Yeah, and denying that gauge is pretty big this early in the match.
Reggie's letting me know that you're a little bit too low, so let me angle that up a little bit more. Audio keeps skipping for me, but that won't be here. Reggie, also, Juppies is one of our resident dad seaters, so he's sort of muting and unmuting as he speaks. That may be what you're hearing.
Yeah, I also may not commentate for random periods in the match. Sorry about that.
We've talked a little bit about Beheaded. For those that don't know, Seijun is an interesting fighter from the season 2 cast. She plays with hand size. She extends the normal exceed hand size limit, which is 7, by 2, and then she gets an extra benefit, a stats benefit, depending on her hand size in the form of +1 guard for every 2 cards. So when she's at max hand size, she's pretty difficult to stun out if you don't have the right cards for it. Now, Beheaded is one that can crank out a lot of damage once he gets rolling, so he should be able to edge up over the top of that guard and still stun where he needs to. I think there's some discussion going on back and forth between the players right now.
Yeah, they're Hyankith is a relatively new player and isn't aware that dive is a move or two He's interpreting his move up to 2, so they're just discussing that.
Oh, okay. For the purposes of the stream, I have the chat off so that you guys don't have to deal with the overlay.
That's
So
really smart.
Juppies can handle the player-to-player talk for us. We kind of had to drop in quickly.
Now, it's interesting that she moved him to the center of the board. Typically, with the grasp, you want to push him in because options in the corner.
Yeah, and if she had, I think, in discussing things with D yesterday, 3 is sort of a favored range for Seijun, so that would have been pretty great.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
She's given she's given Beheaded a chance to corner her now and use some of the tools that he has to take advantage of that.
I can't think of many situations in which not pushing him into the corner with grasp is, if there's a better position than that. I imagine in some matchups that's the case.
Maybe something in the hand that informed that decision. So we see a yokai banishing into a block.
Yeah, you can tell he's really desperate for gauge. He wants to get out some of his upgrades.
Maybe this telegraphs why Hyakinthus made that decision. This would have been, well, he could have used the draw card effect instead of the push, but either way, he's going to be able to corner Mad here if he wants to.
Yeah, and that puts him. I don't think Beheaded can fight at range 5, but Seijun can't really fight at range 5 either. Her ultras are range, but other than that, she's mostly range 3.
You can see here that Seijun, as you would expect, is way up on hand options over Beheaded. That's one of the things with Beheaded is because you have very little refill in your kit. He has to temper the fact that he wants to build gauge very quickly and be aggressive and get those traits out as fast as possible with lower tempo moves that are required to keep his hand full of options so that he can do that. It'll be interesting to see if Seijun can leverage that advantage here. I'm not certain that it's going to really make up too much difference, but we'll see.
Well,
Just to note, the Meddlesome Transform on Yokai Banishing will be in effect for the rest of the game, so if Mad plays a boost and Seijun has a copy of that boost in hand, so we're talking only normals here, she'll be able to discard it to cancel out the effect. So things like parry, reading, those are going to be off the table depending on hand shape.
and Matt is, as a player, one of his strengths is resource that he gravitated toward Beheaded because he's really good at making sure he always has what he needs.
Strike coming out from Seijun. I think that's a shame.
And
You hate to
Seijun's
see
keeping
Assault
up
Shield
the
whip if
pressure.
you're the Beheaded player.
This is going to be really tough for Beheaded to get out of. Not only is he at a 10 life disadvantage, but still doesn't have the gauge to exceed yet.
Yeah, she's doing an excellent job of keeping Beheaded from building up the resources he needs. As a ramp character, the more you can make him suffer in terms of getting that gauge built up, the easier time you're going to have sort of establishing a significant life lead that you can ride through the rest of the game.
Now, I would like to point out here that Mad did remind the Seijun player that they could discard a sweep to cancel that boost. And the community in Exceed is very nice with rural things like that. So just wanted to shout out on that.
For sure. I think that's something that we're going to see a lot of over the course of this event.
Yeah, especially with Season 2 characters, it's hard to keep track of all the transforms sometimes.
Okay, so we're seeing an Ancient Ambition boost out of the Seijun player. Draw up to 5 cards. So that's one of those refills that we were talking that Beheaded sort of lacks. Seijun has easy access to this, and she's going to be able to maintain that significant hand advantage over Beheaded so that she can continue applying the pressure that she has been so far.
No, that boost is really good. In this situation, it looks like the ultras work too, but they did it for drawing three, and then the one for end of turn. So it actually didn't really give him a lot more resources than it would have if it was spent as fours.
Yeah, I probably would have taken the overdraw there and then just trimmed my hand down a little bit. But it
Yeah,
could
I
be
agree with that.
that Hyakinthus has some valuable options that they don't or aren't willing to give up or give Mad that information. And
Looks like Mad's looking to make a comeback here with that phaser boost. What's that called? Giant killer.
Giant Killer plus 4 power. That's a lot of damage into one strike. If Mad can land something here, that'd go a long way towards closing that life lead.
I mean, even if
He also
Seijun
has a
doesn't
light in
EX
play,
on
so
offense, he can still outspeed with an assault or something even on defense. Honestly, I think the best move would be to do like a sweep because Seijun can't dive out of it, so it's undodgeable and it hit for 10.
yeah, I think. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, and Seijun doesn't have any dives anyways,
Yeah, Seijun's just
so
fine.
even on defense, that's a safe strong attack.
The only card here that I think, and light plays around it, but Ink Spike with that hand size would be enough to get over top of the sweep. So if I'm Hyakinthus, I might be looking for a way to get my own light in play so that I can contest that or try to dive it. Oh, he's just going to go for the
Or
parry.
even do an EX on it.
Parry, for those that don't know, is the block on, or excuse me, the boost on block, and it allows you to name a card to force the opponent to discard that card. Sometimes, though, and sometimes intentionally, you name the wrong card. Oh, Mad did that very quickly. I'm not sure. Here we go. So Mad's
Here,
hand is Dive Attack, Wave of Denial, Wrenching Whip, and EX Wave of Denial available to Mad here.
yeah, I'm not sure what he's going for there. I wonder if he's just doing threats to bide his time to build up his hand more, or if he actually wanted to do like the whip
Did
out
you
of his
see?
hand.
Did you see in chat what card was named?
It was Spike. It was a good call. Because then Spike, it can't be blocked. It can't be blocked.
To chat, Eternal Mage was asking if EX Ink Spike is live, and it is live. So far, the only card in Hyakinthus' discard is block, and then we have a series of normals plus Yokai Blessing as a transform here.
That was a great move by Mad. That at this range, that wave of denial is just not going to be any use. So spending the 4/4s for exchange cards was a good choice.
Yeah, he really needs to confirm this hit. If Hyakinthus manages to do something to either stun out Mad's attack or dodge it, and I'm not sure what that option looks like, but that'd be a whole lot of resources down the drain for the Beheaded, and I don't know. That's a tough momentum swing to come back from.
Yeah, well, also he needs that second gauge so he can get one of his bonuses in play. He really, on his next turn, he has to strike because on defense he's risking. He could win it no gauge.
Yeah, just to point this out, the Beheaded, as we discussed earlier, has a sort of ramp up exceed mode. His front side's very interesting. It has nothing, literally no effect, and that's because those stats that he adds to his active area, I guess you would say, over the course of the game, that's where all of the modification on his normal side ability comes from. The Exceed side is going to let you play one of those traits, and then for one attack you get +1 power and +1 speed. So the turn after exceeding. The Beheaded can throw some really mean things. Both players noticeably struggling, I think, with what is the right play in this situation. They both have to be very careful, so they're stepping lightly.
Well, if Seijun has EX Ink Spike, it's pretty hard for, like, if they strike with that, it'd be hard to, like, it'd put a lot of pressure on Mad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I mean,
Mix781 in chat points out that a reading at this point from Seijun's side could have the potential to be devastating for the Beheaded player if it lands. Instead, we are seeing Heart of the Mountain, stun immunity, and opponents cannot move past you. So the opponents cannot move past you portion of this boost is going to be sort of useless in this position, but the stun immunity.
yeah, it's definitely played for stun immunity.
We see Mad boosting backstep to. He might have actually just spent that as a force on the movement action, but taking one step back. Most of Seijun's attacks have a range of 1 to 3, so now we're going to see. Oh, Seijun charging all the way into range 1.
Yeah, I wonder what they're thinking, like what they're planning with that. Why do you think Beheaded moved to range 4?
Step out of ink spike range.
And what do you think Seijun could be planning? Let me see. She doesn't have enough gauge for her ultras. So, I guess just to make ink spike more.
I'm not sure what the threat
Likely.
here is, if I'm honest. I know that with Wave of Denial being down for Mad. Oh, I may have lied to the chat earlier. I didn't realize with the overlay down, I'm not able to see how many cards are in discard. Can you give me a count of discards for both players, Jeffies?
8 for Beheaded and 5 for Seijun.
Okay.
Oh my, the second giant killer's out. That's plus 8 power, plus 2 speed on.
Wow. What does Mad have that he's confident here?
Well, he could just play Grasp and win. It doesn't even matter at this point. He can be any EX. He could be, like, the only thing would be if it was going to cost a lot of force on Seiju's end. Kind of level the playing field a little bit.
That's scary. Having the Beheaded player double boost Giant Killer tells you they're pretty confident about what's in their hand, so even as a bluff, I don't think I would do that. So Mad's telegraphing that he has that grasp here.
Well, and if Seijun doesn't attack with an EX, then he can even use.
Here comes the read as chat predicted. They're worried it might be a little bit late. Did you see what was named?
Spike.
Spike. Interesting. If Mad has the spike, that hurts. He does not.
There's no way he's going to keep that in hand. No way.
So we see infantry bow focus, assault shield, dive attack, and wrenching whip in MadFnorder's hand, and he plays twin daggers as his attack.
That'll be a nice healthy 11 damage. I'm assuming he didn't play block based on that response. He said, well, $sign ampersand me.
Still waiting to see what the flip is here. Random infantry bow hanging out in the middle of the table. Ah, he went for the ink spike.
That was incredibly risky. If the speed boost wasn't in play, it would have worked, but even at that, very risky.
I wonder if they have forgotten that Seijun had stun immunity there.
Okay, I just reminded him.
Oh, remember that we are supposed to refrain from doing so. If the players don't
Oh,
catch it, it's
okay.
accepted still.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. That is something that they set out. They want to be careful that, as you know, not all games will have casters present. That we don't coach or point out mistakes.
I won't do that again. They're both grateful I did that, but I told them never mind. So
Getting an update from the Twitch chat. Taxi is saying, are we allowing rules clarifications now? Originally, we had discussed that commentators would not dip in at all. Okay, so rule
yeah,
mistakes.
that's my bad.
Okay, that has been updated, so we can point out rules mistakes. Great.
Oh, we can or we can't.
He said Taxi is saying that we can, so I'll get that updated in our little um, commentator bylaws. And
Well, there's some things. So like playing against, there's a lot of Zolt players, and if you get the +1 speed and the +1 power transforms out, I would imagine people naturally want to use an Ultra to pay for both of those, and that's something that I think would need to be clarified.
okay, thank you, chat. Thanks, Taxi, for getting that clarified for us. Okay, so we see the Beheaded getting to exceed for the first time. He chooses the Brutality trait, which is going to give all specials and ultras +2 power from here on. And he significantly narrows that life lead. We go from a 10-point life lead down to a 5-point life lead. And as anybody that's watched the D video is familiar, we discussed there that the life difference really doesn't tell you much. It's a resource, right? And it's meant to be spent to sort of leverage position in game and get to the place you need to be to win. And especially in some of these characters' cases, they can deal so much damage in one hit that even a 10-point life lead, that might just be a difference of one attack. And that's proven to be the case here. We also see the Kitsune Wrath transformation making it into play for Seijun. I missed this earlier, but when they set an EX attack, they can spend up to 2 force, and for every force spent, the attack gains +1 power.
Well, something to note about his selection upgrade is that the range isn't needed because she doesn't have a range, and the guarded armor guard from her UA, so that was a really good selection.
It sounds like our players are having a chat back and forth, maybe discussing Ink Spike being in play and verifying whether or not.
Mad accidentally, I guess, showed one of his cards and was asking if it was seen, and it wasn't.
Okay, good deal.
I'm gonna have to go now, but it was nice commentating.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, Juppies. Okay, so we're seeing an EX Foxfire into Mad's Focus. So going to ignore that push. That is, however, 7 damage coming through. I don't believe the Seijun player spent any additional force for power. So she will not stun out the Beheaded. Oh, having a little bit of trouble getting the transformations organized over here. Now we see the 9th tail transformation, so all of the Seijun player's attacks have, if they hit, with fewer cards in hand than the opponent, +2 power. These are the options that are left known in Mad's hand: Assault Shield, Wrenching Whip, Dive Attack, and Infantry Bow. Yeah, plus the one unknown card from exceeding. Seijun player plays Grasp, catching out Mad's Twin Daggers. And looks like this time is going to take the option to corner the Beheaded. The Seijun player operating from a hand advantage deficit here, threatening that +2 power. Not sure they caught that on the Grasp. Should have been 2 additional damage, I believe, to Mad. I will point that out in chat now that I've been told that we can do so. Okay, they have corrected. Yeah, Mix. Taxi Cab clarified for us that no coaching, no advice, but where rules are misinterpreted or mandatory effects are missed, we can step in and let the players know. Players asking for a ruling. I believe since both players continued without catching the mistake, it's accepted game state. So shouldn't be any broken state here. Little bit of confusion from the players. Okay. I think they've got that sorted out and are about to get back into play. Beheaded is established. I'm not entirely sure. Known cards. Dive attack's pretty good at this range. Has a wrenching whip as well. See the Seijun player boosting a light, and Mad responding with Tornado. So he's taking +1 speed and choosing to retreat 1 space, stepping out of the range of most of Seijun's attacks. Chat's pointing out that they're worried that Seijun is in a position where, even though she has tempo currently, it'll be pretty easy for her to give it up. So we see Seijun spending a force to step in to get back into threatening ranges, and Mad responding with attack to the light. Immediately, Hyakinthus responds with another light, and Mad responds in turn with a light of his own. So the light boost war that most Exceed players are familiar with. That's a great example of it. Mad sitting on +3 speed. As Mix points out in chat, what Mad was doing there allowed him to sort of play around Meddlesome without having to worry about the Seijun player being able to cancel his light. Is Beheaded out of Fierce? Let's check. Now that Juppies is gone, I'll have to enable the overlay just long enough to get in and check discards. So we see only one Grasp, I believe. Yeah, one Grasp and discard. So there can still be a Fierce somewhere. Not certain exactly what Mad wants to land here with all that speed. We're probably looking at Wrenching Whip or Infantry Bow being the threat. I don't think he wants to throw Infantry Bow at range 3, but I could be wrong. In Assault Shield, you really want to take the hit to benefit from the additional power that the card gives you for taking any damage beforehand. So I don't think that's going to be anything that's on the table here. Have to ask everyone to bear with me now that Juppies is gone. I'm going to have to try to remember not to leave too much dead air, but this is my first stream of the tournament. Shout out to Taxi while we're here, actually, for organizing this thing. Matchup Madness has grown to be an insane animal, and it's really cool to get to participate in this and stream some matches. I'm playing in the tournament myself. Hopefully I'm going to have a match against Mad a little bit later on today. So I'll have to be good and not take too many notes as I'm watching. I believe priority is with Hyakinthus right now. We saw Mad was the last to take an action when he boosted that light, so trying to decide how he wants to try to play into this +3 speed threat from the Beheaded. Yeah, as Taxi points out in chat, we got up to 95 people for this event. That is monumental. For anybody watching that's not aware, that makes this tournament the largest in Exceed's history. So it's something that I know Taxi is very proud of and should be. That's a very large percentage of our community all together at one place playing games. The players involved span all ranges of skill. And there are some people here. Actually, Mad, one of the players in this game, is one of the people that have taken the World Champion title from the Gen Con event. And I think we have another participant that has taken that title as well. So some really good players in the pool. And a lot of faces that I am new to. As somebody that I'm a playtester, and so there's a group of players that I interact with pretty regularly, but there's a whole lot of fresh faces in this tournament. It's very exciting. still seeing quite a bit of hesitance from our players as they try to work out what actions they're going to take here. While we're waiting, chat, let me know, how do you feel about this match? Who do you have right now? You betting on Seijun or you betting on the Beheaded? We'll take this opportunity to go through Seijun's discards. So we see both assaults down, one Tale of Nine Sorrows, one Tale of Seven Trials. Both Foxfires are down, one is transformed. Oh! Hyakinthus spending one force to move into range 2, the Beheaded. And Mad responds pretty immediately by stepping back into range 3. I think if Blue was here, he would say something about footsies at this point. I do not have the perspective necessary to discuss that. Oh, we got Taxi responding saying that he thinks Seijun has a 60 to 70% chance for the win. Seijun sitting on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 card hand. So any strike that she throws at this point is going to be sitting on +4 guard in addition to the +2 speed. That will notably turn off Ninth Tail, as Mad is maintaining a hand that is smaller than that. Chat saying they think Seijun needs to exceed here. Oh, yep. Thanks for the correction, Taxi. I forgot to take into account that the one card that would come out of hand would bring the Seijun guard bonus down to 3, not 4. Unless it was a wild swing, which would preserve the 8 card hand. We see the Seijun player boosting another Heart of the Mountain, so preventing the Beheaded player from moving past her and gaining stun immunity. The Beheaded player is... Give me a second while I try to find it in here. Art making it a little bit difficult for me to pick out which ones are the focuses. I don't see any focus in here. I could have sworn that some are used, but it looks like only the one that's engaged. So there's a reading left available. Yeah, its opponents cannot move past you. If I said opponents cannot move you, I apologize. Yeah, this would prevent a dive, say, from getting past the Seijun player. So the Beheaded player threw a Wrenching Whip. This is a speed 8 Wrenching Whip coming through for power 5. Seijun player taking 3 damage because the focus is 2 armor. As chat's discussing, I think the focus play there was just because the Seijun player was aware that wasn't really anything they could do there to stop the Beheaded's attack from landing, so opted to just prevent as much as damage as possible, keep a little bit of a life pool available to work with. Chat pointing out Ink Splash there would have been the plays. It would have been coming through for, well, no, Beheaded was at 8 speed. I don't know that the Ink Splash would have done it there. Even EX Ink Splash would have been a little bit too slow. Yeah, I think here, if I am the Beheaded player, I'm probably exceeding, and I am probably taking survival. Seijun isn't really spending too much time at a range that tactics is going to provide a whole lot of benefit, but especially sitting on 9 life, having that bonus armor on your special and ultras will help you preserve some of your own, and it makes Assault Shield into something that's terrifying. We'll see if that is the option that Mad takes, though. Seijun player throwing an EX attack. Mad asking if they would like to spend the force to turn on Kitsune Wrath, choosing not to. Just verifying. There are very few options left for this EX attack. I believe Spike and Ink Splash. Yep. Risky assault. Mad was playing against the spike there. Oh, Mad opting for the tactics, not the survival. Might be telegraphing. Real quick, let me check on this. Oh, yep. Let me ask. Why did both Ink Splash go to discard? Looks like Hyakinthus is going to correct that, taking it as a transform. Maybe Gauge, maybe still deciding. Okay, we'll assume for now that this was put into play as a transform. This is the Watchful Guardian transform. After the prepare action, it's going to allow the Seijun player to spend 1 force if they choose, and if they do, they get to move 1. So you basically combine a 1 force move action with a prepare action. It's pretty good in terms of adding a little bit of extra value to your prepares. I don't know how much value it's going to have in this game, as they're already within 1 strike of it being over. up some player chat. Okay, Mad correcting the Hyakinthus player here. One of the things about 7th Cross is that their exceed cost, if you look in that bottom right hand corner of that card, they get a discount for every transform that they have in play. For Seijun, it's 2. I think it's 2 as a standard, actually. So that counts against the 5 cost exceed that you would normally have to pay to flip. And in this case, Seijun has 4 transforms in play. The exceed is free. Hyakinthus spent, and Mad just let them know that they could keep those cards in their gauge. Exceed side for Seijun. It's fairly terrifying, actually. It comes with a rider of draw 3 cards, and your maximum hand size becomes unlimited. At the start of every single one of your turns, you draw a card. So the hand advantage here is going to get kind of crazy, and she should be able to leverage that to close out the last 4 hit points we see from the Beheaded. Beheaded putting Corrupted Power into play. This is a fun one. It's fierce, but it comes with a draw 2 and then discard a random now effect on it. So Mad sort of fishing, trying to get to... we see the focus drop. That is probably not what Mad was hoping to hit. Yeah, as Eternal Mage in chat points out, or sorry, Mix points out in chat, that is all of the Beheaded's focus down until, well, no. Yeah, until reshuffle. Seijun player boosting light. Putting Mad in a very difficult position here. Mad reminding Hyakinthus about his start of turn draw. I am not certain why. Oh, a mistake was made. I am not certain what happened there. Big CC5 from Mad. Drawing the last card in deck, which is now a known Wrenching Whip. And then should take 4 more cards plus 1 for end of turn here. Right, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that was a 6. Maybe that was a 6 force change cards. Seijun player has 11 cards left in deck. Note that that's important because one of the ways that you can lose the game is drawing out. I don't think we're going to see 11 more turns, or really 12 for the Seijun player to be required to draw and not have any cards left in deck. But it's a thing that they need to watch out for. He forgot the revealed card was also drawn. It was a CC5. I think the tension may be getting to them. Mad, you drew 1 too many. That was CC5, right? Alright, Mad correcting it, putting the last card drawn back into the deck and shuffling. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, going out of 9. 2 lights in play. If I am... I don't know what I do into this if I'm mad. Excuse me. Normally I would probably try to block bait out the advantage, but not knowing whether or not a spike is a thing turns that off. I need to apologize, chat. I realized that my streamer mode got turned off on Discord, so you guys are probably hearing my notification pings. And now I have to remember how to turn that back on. I will do so after this match, that way we don't miss anything. So we see the Seijun player throwing an EX attack. Bear in mind that this is at +4 speed, and she is choosing to spend force for Kitsune Wrath. We've got 1 force spent so far, 2 force spent. So this is +4 speed, +2 power, and EX. Mad Wild swings, lands the spike, and that is going to be GG. Really decisive finish for the Seijun player there. Okay, so I have updated the score on the right-hand side. You should see a check mark now in the Seijun box. Please note that because of the format for this event, for Game 2 of the set, Seijun is no longer going to be available to Hyakinthus. They will have to make a decision between Sea Viper and Propeller for which fighter they bring into the next game. Meanwhile, MadFnorder will be able to put Beheaded back into his bag and pick from any of his 3 Beheaded, Carl Swaingi, or Minato. And we have Taxi Cab in chat repping that match form. He wants his data. While the players set up, we will drop back to our fight card. And Ogre will hit up Google and try to figure out how to turn the stream protection mode back on for Discord. There we go. I appreciate you bearing with me, everyone. This is my first go with this, so it's going to be a little bit rough, but hopefully we'll get better as the tournament goes on. Looks like the players have blind picked their fighters and are getting set up, so let's get back over into TTS. We're going to see a Minato into Propeller Knight matchup here. Some of you may not be aware, but MadFnorder is a terror behind the helm of Minato. It's one of his strongest fighters. Minato being a very, very versatile fighter, able to sort of adapt his game plan pretty much on the fly into whatever he's up against. It'll be interesting to see how that interacts with Propeller Knight, who has a whole lot of mobility and a whole lot of positioning effects. But for the most part, in order to cash out the most value from his kit, needs to sort of guarantee certain placements so that he can get the tippers effects that D was discussing in his video that covered pretty much everybody in the legal tournament pool. Propeller Knight needs to land special and ultra attacks at the maximum range in order to take advantage of this UA, which is going to give +2 power to the attack. Minato, on the other hand, is crazy, and I would not do him justice if I tried to describe to you all the things that he can do. At a base level, though, he generates force or gauge by sealing the top card of his discard pile for 1 force or the top 3 for 1 gauge. This means that once he gets some cards in discard, he always has access to resources that others have to confirm attacks or maintain hand size in order to have. Makes Minato very scary. It'll be interesting to see what line Mad takes into this Propeller Knight. We see here our players are deciding on Mulligan. For newer viewers or players, the Mulligan rule in Exceed is pretty generous, actually. You choose which cards you want to Mulligan, place those face down. That's not known information for your opponent. Leaving them outside of the deck, you then draw back up to your hand size. For first player, that's 5. For second player, that's 6. And then you take the discarded cards and shuffle them back in. So, unlike in some games, you are not at risk of redrawing the same card that you mulliganed when you refill your hand. This can be really good for digging for specific matchup cards, or if you have transforms, if you're from Season 2 that you want to get a key transform into play. Not sure what's going on here. Oh, there was a misunderstanding. Hyakinthus, I don't think, understood the mulligan rule that I was explaining, so Mad was giving them a chance to decide if they wanted to do that. Again, Juppy's mentioned that good sportsmanship earlier when he was co-casting with me, and we see that here. Mad letting Hyakinthus go back and decide on the mulligan, even after he had played a boost and given no card information. So let's remind them that they need to reset life here. Okay. Now we're going to see Mad open up with a Fierce. I guess here Hyakinthus decided, oh, nope, there we go. Way at the top. Minato coming in with some really excellent art for these cards. This Fierce play is a little bit dangerous into Propeller. Propeller has pretty good variety of options that he can open up with turn 1 from range 4. Not sure if we'll see any of those come into play here or not, but Mad probably has something he's fairly confident in hand. in order to risk putting that Fierce into play. Hyakinthus responding with a light. And Mad responding with Defend. I think that's the first time we've seen this boosted this set. Very simple, just +1 armor and +3 guard. Propeller responding with Jetstream. This is +1 speed and a before trigger that allows you to pull the opponent 1 or 2. It's going to help to enable some of those Tipper's effects. He'll pull to the ideal position in order to land them. Mad, seeing this, decides to run into range 1. One of the things that's discussed around the Exceed community is that one of the ways that you can sort of diminish the value of a light boost is by moving into range 1, since because of the speed curve at range 1, many of the cards that you would play that would benefit from light the most need to be at a slightly larger range than this. So we could see, let's see, pull 1 or 2. If Hyakinthus plays something fast, you may corner Mad here. Mad responds with a focus, so no pull is going to happen. Propeller Knight is going to cross over Minato. Dive has an effect on it that if you move past the opponent, their attack cannot hit you. In this case, it won't matter because focus was out of range anyways, but basically just nulling the beat there. Neither player will land a hit. Minato, however, will still get to draw the card per the after effect on focus. So far we see a cross, a grasp, a spike, and a focus. All normals down for Mad. For the Propeller player, we see assault, sweep, propeller pull, and dive. Real quick, just reset. I rotated the camera a little bit. Yeah, as chat points out there, that dive was good to get out of a sticky situation. And we see Mad throwing an assault into Propeller Knight's Saber Lunge. Saber Lunge is going to outspeed the assault. And Hyakinthus is going to have to make a decision here. Advances 4 and then chooses to return Saber Lunge to hand. Mad will need to keep that in mind as something that the Propeller player can threaten going forward. As I don't have a co-commentator anymore, shout out in chat. Let me know who you have. Are you pulling for Minato this fight, or are you pulling for Propeller Knight? See Mad initiating another strike. Hyakinthus taking just a moment to consider what the options are here. I am not familiar enough with Minato to make predictions on what this attack might be. So far the game is in a fairly neutral state though. Slight advantage going to the Propeller player. 4 life isn't much though. It's pretty easily made up, especially as hard as Minato can hit once he gets online. So we see a bus stop. This is important as it enables the fractured memories transform when you reveal your attack. If a copy of your attack is in your sealed area or transformation area, it is considered an EX attack. This is a very strong transformation. We see Mad spend 2 force to push 2 and gain +1 power. And then the Propeller pull lands, pulling the opponent 2, cornering the Propeller Knight. Propeller Knight playing Private Reserve. Search your discard pile for a continuous boost. You may play it, paying all costs, and then shuffle your discard pile, pulling the light back out of his discard that was used earlier in the match. Very effective threat to recycle. A little bit less value at range 1, but could be threatening something that moves out of range. Mad spending force, I have to assume, from discard. Yep, CC3. Drawing 4 cards and then discarding 1. Get a little bit of known information. For those tracking it, so far sealed cards on the Minato side, we've got an Assault, a Spike, a Grasp, a Focus, and a Cross. Notably, because of Bus Stop, any copies of those attacks that are played from this point forward will be considered EX. And we see Flight 13 get discarded. Mad helpfully rearranging the sealed area for us. To my mind, this puts the Propeller Knight in a fairly tricky situation. Those are some potent threats to have on the board, and being cornered here is not where I would want to be if I'm Propeller Knight. Propeller does have a few options in his kit, though, to break out of this and get back into the middle of a map, so he can start leveraging his Tipper's abilities. I imagine Mad's going to be doing everything he can to keep that from happening. See Propeller Knight initiating an attack here. Maybe a repeat of the crossplay. Mad trying to decide how to respond. Bear in mind we have the Saber Lunge here, so he may play it just as a way to get out. And he does. Choosing to return it to hand once again. Yeah, as TaxiCab points out in chat, Saber Lunge can be difficult to try to play into, and I think Hyakinthus is utilizing it to pretty good effect here, kind of preventing Minato from keeping Propeller Knight locked down. Minato responding with an EX attack. Let's see here. Only Flight 13 in discard, so we know it can't be that, and we know it can't be any of the sealed normals. Taxi in chat calling out this is probably a dive. I think I tend to agree. Hyakinthus responding with, oh, it was a jump to shark. Hyakinthus landed on full broadside, decided to invalidate, and then wild swung from there into a dive, making jump the shark land. This card gains +1 power for every 4 cards in the sealed area, so not much of a benefit there. I believe that was 4 power total. Yep, 5 cards in sealed, so EX +1 power and +1 power from the effect on the card. Mad playing the boost on cross to run into range 1. Really doing his best this match to make positioning difficult for Propeller Knight. Propeller Knight trying desperately to get that second gauge so that he can flip and enable his exceed side ability, which lets him reposition a little bit before striking. Chat discussing the viability of Jump the Shark at that range. One point being that it is 4 damage for free. The other saying, well, it's only 4 damage, and Jump the Shark holds a lot of value if you can land it with a larger sealed area, getting a better damage bonus. I think in this case, probably fine. Probably fine the way that it was utilized, and Matt is a very good player. There's probably a game plan in mind. I believe we see Mad boosting Daredevil. Seal up to 4 cards from top of your deck for each card sealed this way, +1 speed. And he is choosing to seal 3 cards for a total of +3 speed. Landed on Dive, Sweep, and Barnstorming. Known hand is Cab Stand, Barnstorming, Bus Stop, and Dive. Asmix points out in chat. 1 copy of each normal sealed, so at this point, any normal played will be an EX. EX attacks for anybody that are new to watching. I don't think we've discussed this actually. They're going to give +1 to power, speed, armor, and guard. So +4 stats in total all the way across the board. It's a very valuable effect. And outside of effects and abilities like Minato's that let you enable it through special criteria, you just have to have both copies of the attack in hand. And once the attack is revealed, you discard the extra copy that was played with it, and the other copy of the card is your attack with the EX bonuses in place. Waiting to see how Hyakinthus responds to this Daredevil boost. Not sure if any texts are available here. They are not. So either going to play an attack for the sole purpose of invalidating it, maybe try to play around it by playing something that doesn't care about speed, something solid and defensive, a focus or a sweep. Choosing to back step out. Establish range 4. Keep in mind there is a known dive in Mad's hand, so he still can connect at this range. Also has cab stance, so could connect with it. Instead chooses to spend a force to move 1. Sealed 1, moved 1. Seal the second copy across in order to generate that force. Troubleshooting some things on the fly here. I have to apologize. I did not realize as I was moving to look at the discard. Is my overlay blocking you guys from seeing that? No. I just have to make sure I center up. Okay. Yep, Mick's asking in chat what Minato is threatening at range 3 that benefits from the speed, and I think I agree with Taxi. Spike here would be pretty solid play. Plus 3 speed, and it's EX'd. We see Hyakinthus playing Fly Up. This is a 1 force boost that allows the Propeller player to move wherever he wants to. Choosing to move to range 5. Bear in mind, I think Mad has 2 cards in hand at this point that are not known. Minato spending 2 force to move back into range 3. The 10th section of the match, both players just sort of playing that footsie game, trying to establish position. Nobody making a whole lot of moves. Hopefully we'll start seeing some attacks come through here. I think either player is terribly happy about the position that they're in. Where's Taxi at? Taxi, this is some Taxi meta stuff. I need you in here commentating this. Looks like we have a reading coming out from Hyakinthus, calling focus. Mad is going to reveal a hand without. This feels like a fairly telegraphed spike from the propeller. Mad responds with a dive, which if it is a spike, we'll cross it up. Yep. Oh, not cross it up, sorry. Move into range where it doesn't hit. Spike has a minimum range of 2. Please note that that dive was EX'd as a result of having 1 copy of dive sealed. So it hit for 6 power, not 5. Mad immediately responding with an attack. Hyakinthus going over known hand. Hellward Bound, Barnstorming, Flight 13, Cab Stand, and Bus Stop are the known threats here. Responds with an EX. We see an EX Grasp coming out from Mad. The EX Swoop does tie for speed, but Mad has priority, so he breaks the speed tie. Coming in for 4 power, that's going to get over the 1 armor and guard that was provided to Swoop by the EX. This puts Propeller in a very bad situation. Mad's established a pretty large life lead, and now at this point has hand advantage as well. Propeller choosing to prepare to get a few more options in hand. Mad windmill slamming something. Looks like a couple of errors were made. Cross was paid for. Swoop, for those new to the game, is a force special. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner of the card there is a force symbol with 1 in it. These are special attacks, but they do require a force expenditure in order to validate. This means that most of them are pretty high value attacks, and if they're wild swung into, because it's a cost, just like Ultras, you can choose to invalidate this rather than paying the cost. So this allows you to sort of option select and mill through those cards when they're not going to do anything for you. Taxi in chat, pulling for his boy Minato. And we see the Barnstorming and across. Minato advances as far as possible. And this turns on the Weight of Regret boost. Or excuse me, transform. At the end of each strike, if your attack did not hit the opponent, you may return it to your hand instead of discarding it. Taxi keeping up the aggression. We do know that there is a Flight 13 in hand. And I believe... no, I was wrong. I thought there was a Flight 13 sealed. Propeller responds with a cannonball. Not enough power on Flight 13 to stun, so Cannonball is going to come through for 4 damage. Note that it's not at its maximum range of 6, so it doesn't get the +2 power bonus. Okay, so Propeller is taking the Exceed action. That's going to give an immediate advance or retreat of 2. And from this point forward, before the Propeller Knight strikes on initiation, he can advance or retreat 1 before placing the card. We see a Grasp being thrown into a bus stop here. And GG. Alright, so we go to a 1-1. And I try to remember which one. There we go. We'll drop back over to the fight card. We'll wait on the players to set up. First set of the tournament. We get to see all 3 games played, which I love. And some pretty good games. Good way to start off. I'm excited. Shout out to Level 99 for sponsoring the tournament, putting up a nice prize pool for our players to play towards. And for anybody that is watching that may be new, go head over to their website, read up. You can purchase Exceed products from their store, and it's a really great game. I hope that if you are new to it and haven't had a chance to play, you will join us over in the Level 99 Discord community. Great group of people, and many players out there that are willing to take the time to teach you and help you sort of get to grips with the game and learn some of these things that you're going to be hearing as we move forward with the tournament, as you see more and more footage. A little bit of chat back and forth between our players. Blind picks are being decided. Alright, so we are going to see a Beheaded into Propeller Knight matchup. Mad bringing back his Game 1 fighter, and Hyakinthus trying to get the run back on Propeller. We'll jump back over into TTS while they set up. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to step away for just a moment. Okay, my apologies for that. Looks like we have the players deciding on their mulligans. Propeller Knight sending back 4 cards. I did not catch how many Beheaded mulled. And yes, as Eternal Mage points out in chat, for those of you that don't know, the software that is being utilized to play these games is Tabletop Simulator, which is available on Steam, and it is a fantastic platform for getting to play these games. Level 99 is really great to us, and they let one of the members of the community, D, maintain this module, which has all of the legal and printed characters available in it. And if you're just trying to sort of get your hands on it and try it out, join us over in Tabletop Simulator. Give it a try. We'll help you learn. You'll probably get addicted to it like most of us are. And then you can head out and buy your own fighters. Okay, let me see. We got some chat going back and forth from the players. Mad led off with a parry cannonball, missing, but revealing Propeller's hand to be dive, assault, cross, swoop, saber, and I'm going to get this wrong. Full broadside, I think it is. Yeah. Before we get too much further into the game, chat, give me your predictions. How are you feeling about this? We've got a 1-1 set so far. Seijun taking game 1, Minato taking game 2. So this is going to be the deciding game.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, Juppies, welcome back.
Kids are watching TV, so I'm good.
Awesome. I was struggling to fill the dead air without you here. We see a Blade Flourish being boosted, +1 power, +1 speed, and if you're at range 2, draw a card. Chad is very excited to see you back, Juppies. Mad is reading
so
and naming
I have a
dive.
question. Um, how come Beheaded is still being played? If you lost, you switch characters, or if you win, you switch characters or something.
Nope. So the way that the format works here is that the winning player sets aside their fighter and may not choose that fighter for the rest of the set. So game 1, Seijun was the winning fighter, so Hyakinthus set that fighter aside. Game 2, Minato was the winning fighter, so that fighter was set aside, leaving both of them with a pool of 2 fighters to choose from for this match. Sea Viper and Propeller for Hyakinthus, and Beheaded and Carl Swingy for Mad. And Mad chose Beheaded with Hyakinthus choosing Propeller.
Okay, that makes sense. This should be, I don't know, I think this matchup is going to be favored towards Beheaded. Propeller Knight requires some finesse to pilot effectively, and I think probably even more so against Beheaded because of his mobility. And I think Hyakinthus is not a super experienced player, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, apologies, Hyakinthus, if you're watching this and I have been pronouncing your name incorrectly. I hope I'm getting it. This is something that I am not going to promise to do well at over the course of the tournament. There's a lot of names in here, and I am bound to mess many of them up.
So I'm guessing that right now the general strategy on Beheaded side is to use fast, high hit confirm attacks to get those upgrades out, and knowing that Propeller Knight is a fast, nimble fighter, I expect we'll probably see him wild swinging on defense a lot and striking on curve or above curve on offense to try to get that gauge.
Yeah, if I'm Mad, and Mad is much better with Beheaded than I am, but I am probably leaning towards wanting survival as a trait as early as possible. Propeller's got a lot of attacks that are very fast, like you say, and can poke you out if you're trying to respond with something that doesn't have the armor or guard to deal with it.
I
Survival,
could see that, or the range boost one to just break the speed curve a little on his specials, the
yeah.
tactic. But I don't think
Taxi
there's an,
agreeing
I
with
don't
you in
think they'll
chat.
need to. I don't think they'll need any power bonuses for the whole match against Propeller. Propeller's hits a little lighter.
Yeah, brutality is always good, so I don't think that it's ever off the table for being chosen. But I do think that in this matchup, for the first trait, we're probably going to see either tactics or survival. Taxi's, I don't know if you can see the chat, but Taxi is excited that you agreed with him.
I cannot see the chat.
Propeller Knight rocking a little bit of a hand advantage here, not too much, 6-4. And I think most of those cards are still known. Looks like a big CC coming out. 3 force, looking to draw to 7. Yep. A little bit of cross chat going back and forth from the players. Mad prepping, trying to narrow that hand advantage just a little bit. I think this is a very even game state currently. I don't think either player is edged too far out in the lead. Mad has the one gauge, which is pretty important as a beheaded player. He's halfway to his first trait, so a little bit of momentum edging in his favor, I think.
I'm trying to find out what cards were spent on the CC because they weren't splayed out.
We see a swoop, a cross, and an assault spent for that CC.
That's interesting that he did got rid of a lot of those faster attacks, so maybe he's trying to play a more tanky type of propeller.
We'll do a quick scan over the discards for both players. Not many in the Beheaded's discard pile yet, just a block and a focus. And a belated thank you to all of you who were speaking well of the cast so far. I appreciate it. I do hope that we'll see the quality of these things get better as I realize what I'm doing and get used to trying to talk to people in this method. I'm still having to get over a little bit of
Now,
recording jitters.
for Beheaded, is his preferred range like 2 to 4? Or is it like, is he more a ranger, like a 5+? And then Propeller, I think, what's his preferred range? He likes some distance too, like 3 to 4 on his distance.
I believe
What's
that
kind of the overview there?
I believe that I'm trying to recall my conversation with D for his fighter analysis videos. I think Propeller is preferred at 2-4 in his estimation, and Beheaded I'm not sure in general, but it seemed like in the first game with Beheaded, Mad was favoring range 3 quite a bit. I don't know if that will be the case here or if that was matchup specific though.
Okay, well, that was an interesting boost combination. That was actually pretty good. Well, I didn't consider that he'd stack his discard for that specific purpose.
Yeah, we saw Hyakinthus making good use of Private Reserve in the last game to recur Light, leveraging that speed advantage. Waiting on Hyakinthus to discard down to the maximum hand size of 7.
You can tell that he's feeling some pressure and really wants to win this because he's being very deliberate and thoughtful in his decision making.
Yeah, I think in a tournament setting in general, right? Once you go 1-1, the third game is going to be very tense for both players.
Yeah, it also surprised me to hear that Matt did not choose to go with his Carl and chose Beheaded over that. He must feel very confident with Beheaded.
And it could just be that he's not super fond of the matchups that were remaining to him with Carl. I can see how Carl would struggle a little bit into Propeller. Thanks for joining us, Eternal Mage. I appreciate it. Hopefully we will continue to do this and we'll catch as many as possible. Certainly with this many players in the pool, we are not going to be able to catch all of the matches for our opponents for our fellow players in the pools phase, but we'll do what we can to get these recorded for you guys and get the footage back where you can go back and share them with people and just get the word out on YouTube. This is a really big deal for Exceed. It's really exciting, and I hope that we see sort of an explosion in player base on the back of this tournament. Season 5 is on the distant horizon. Season 4 freshly out.
That reading was calling Grasp, which was even if you missed it, doesn't reveal any information, so that was a good call.
Yep, Propeller pull. Looks like the players are discussing. You may pull 2. This was at Propeller Pull's max range of 2, so it's going to be 6 damage coming through from Mad.
He's trying to debate whether it's better to get the +2 damage or take the discard on the attack, and nobody's saying anything.
Yeah, I probably would have stuck with the damage there as well. Although I guess it could be argued that forcing Mad to a lower hand size would have been nice. Mad calling out the known cross, stunning it with a 5 power Twin Daggers. Twin Daggers has an interesting hit effect. If it is the turn after a strike, it gets +2 power. We see Beheaded hitting that 2 gauge threshold, so we can expect an Exceed on the next turn Mad gets. What trait you think he's going to pull, Jeppies?
With how little Propeller's been moving around, I think he'll go for. I'll agree with you on the armor guard. I think I don't know if he'll go for plus power.
Yeah, I think survival would be my bet. Taxi made a compelling argument for it being tactics.
I would agree with
think
tactics, except that Propeller is kind of in the corner and doesn't seem to care about getting out of it.
Moving into range 1. We saw in the first game with Propeller, he used Saber Lunge to pretty good effect.
Grab the brutality.
I did not expect that at all. So maybe he's looking to close this match out pretty quick.
You know, I don't know. I wonder how it'll play out. I don't know if brutality was the best decision, but I'm not a Beheaded player.
I feel like it's a sign that Mad is trying to layer on the aggression. We see a cross, which is going to outspeed the Propeller pull, move to range 4. Really good time for Propeller pull because it's going to pull Mad back into optimum range and land that 6 power. Really even back and forth game so far. I'm loving this. See both players sitting on 3 cards in hand. 2 gauge for Hyakinthus, 1 gauge for Beheaded, trying to get that second trait online. If you're Hyakinthus, do you spam that Exceed button here? Let's see what this is. CC2, getting rid of Wave of Denial. for the Beheaded player, wanting to get some more options in hand. CC, for anybody new, is just shorthand for one of the actions available in the game. Change cards. You spend a number of force from hand or gauge, and then draw that many cards, plus the 1 for any time you end your turn without initiating a strike. We see the Beheaded player boosting Fierce here, threatening something pretty strong here. If he plays a special, that's at +4 power. It's a significant chunk of your life. Hyakinthus responds with another private reserve.
Now in this case again, I think that playing something slow and meaty with that +4 power might be a good choice. I think he has 1 dive down on Propeller Knight's side. So, well, I don't know, maybe Propeller Knight has a lot of dodge options.
That was an awesome private reserve and a Blade Flourish here. +1 power, +1 speed, and because he was at range 2, he got the draw card benefit off of it. We see Mad spend an Assault from hand as a force to move into range 1. So, what's he threatening here? We know that there's 1 wave of denial down, I believe. Could be another in hand. Wave of denial would let him push Propeller into the edge of the arena for that +2 power benefit. Plus the Fierce is going to bring it up to 6. Plus Brutality is going to bring it up to 8 power. So that's a 187. Really strong move. And I think Hyakinthus is going to have to be careful when he's deciding what to play here. Make sure to play around that. Does Hyakinthus... Are there any focuses available on his side, or has he used them all? Looks like we have 1 focus down, 1 available. So if he anticipates the wave of denial, maybe he responds with that. That would also give him +2 armor and +4 guard. +5 guard, excuse me. Which would let him get up over the 6 power that wave of denial would be throwing, so that he gets to hit back. Ah, Hyakinthus responding with his own Fierce. Must be fairly confident about the options in hand. Mad choosing to tech Blade Flourish, that makes sense. Very even game, and continues to be. We see the game state being pretty similar, actually, across the last few turns on both sides. I do think the Beheaded player is still in the position to be sort of asking the questions, to take some terms I learned from D in our conversation in his video. parry coming out from Hyakinthus, calling twin daggers. None in hand, revealing the wave of denial that we were discussing. A block, wrenching whip, an infantry bow, and spike. And Mad calling out a parry on the focus that we were discussing for Hyakinthus' side. So he also correctly identified the response to the wave of denial play there. Waiting on Hyakinthus. Looks like no focus in hand for him either. Or we're just taking a minute to resolve. I am not certain. Oh, did nail it. Okay, so that is both focus down for the Propeller Knight player. You have to be very scared of wave of denial in this position. If I am him, I am probably trying to spend force this turn to cross the Beheaded and get over to the other side. Not sure if there's a grasp available for Hyakinthus. Looks like there is one. I am not certain what is being resolved here. Propeller exceeding and using the force there to get over to the other side. Mad 30
Oh
on
my.
X.
Yeah, that's exciting.
What are we looking at here?
I bet he's gonna do something slow.
You feel like it's the spike, maybe? I don't know. It's a little
Maybe.
scary to play anything slow into the propeller at range 2.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the expectation is that he wants to hit no matter what. So Propeller may respond with like a block or something.
That's fair.
At this point in the match, there's probably only what, maybe 4 or 5 EX options that Mad would have.
Yeah, let's see if we can do a little determination here. Oh, well, they're not going to give us enough time for that. We see a wild swung spike off the top of the propeller deck, and Mad through the wrenching whip. So that's going to be coming in for 4 power because it's EX, plus 2 from brutality, and plus 2 from fierce, bringing it up to a whopping 8 damage, and pulls the spike, pulls the propeller player rather into range 1.
Mad said for power 7, I'm not gonna say anything.
Maybe I did my math wrong there.
No, it's power 8. He forgot about the +1 on the EX. I don't know if I'm allowed to correct that or not.
We are correcting. Taxi has given us permission to correct rules errors.
Oh, Ogre caught it. Oh, you caught it. You're Ogre.
I am indeed. And I think at this point we're seeing the Beheaded start to edge out into a fairly solid momentum lead. He's got the 2 damage.
Yeah, I think Propeller will have a hard time catching up at this point.
I called the first trait entirely wrong. What are you feeling about the second one? You think he goes survival or tactics here?
Are his ultras cheap? Does he need to save gauge to threaten any ultras?
Wave of Denial is 1, and I think Phaser may also be 1. Yeah.
I don't know, because if he had a good ultra, I wouldn't even exceed at this point. I would just kind of hang onto my cage and threaten something.
I think I probably take the Exceed option. Getting that +1 armor, +2 guard online for threatening Assault Shield is a pretty big deal, and getting the +1 on Tactics lets you threaten range 2 Wave of Denial, which could give Propeller some fits.
I think he'll do survival, because again, Propeller's been sticking very close. I I would expect Propeller would want to stay further away in this situation, but he just hasn't been maneuvering a lot. Like, if I was playing Propeller, when that last strike was getting set up with the +4 power, I would have bolted to like range 5 and tried to prepare my hand to respond to it appropriately, or just struck with something to make him whiff.
Yep, fair line of play. Approaching the 2-hour mark for this set, so been a long, grueling way to open the tournament. Both players are probably feeling it, and we're on the game point, so a lot of pressure on both sides here. I think Mad's probably feeling pretty good about his position currently. He's got everything he wants to have. Propeller Knight in a tough spot. You got to make.
Yeah, especially at range 1. I mean, he could play a focus or a sweep, and the only thing he has to worry about is if a dive was played. But then they just both miss anyway, so he's really in a strong position, especially with that +2 power. If I was Propeller right now, I'd use my UA to retreat 1 and then hit with cross and go back to range 5 and then see what to do from there.
I would be scared to throw the cross, I think, because we know Wave of Denial is in hand. Mad responds with a wild swing, and we see Grasp powering through that Twin Daggers. Pushes into range 2, taking Wave of Denial off the table as a threat. I think that's a smart move on the Propeller Knight's side. I forget what the other known cards in hand are. I might have pushed to 3. I guess given...
And their survival.
Hand. Yeah, I think I am very much in agreement with that play from the Beheaded side. Apologies, chat. I got a train coming by where I live, so I'll try to mute and make sure that too much of that doesn't get into the video.
Mad is checking the discard, trying to deduce what the EX could be.
I think there's a fairly good number of options here.
Well, out of 12 cards, I don't know how many EXs you could have.
So we're not looking at a cross. Well, decision. Oh. Okay, we're locked in. So we are going to see an EX Headwind, speed 6, into a Spike, speed 3. Well, speed 4 actually, because Beheaded was at that. So that was a big hit actually. That was +2 power for the ability on Headwind, and an additional +2 power for getting the opponent out of Tipper's range.
And because the spec wasn't a special, he didn't get armor.
We see Mad boosting Tornado, advancing in 1, gaining a speed. That was a solid turn for Hyakinthus on Propeller.
Yeah, that was a great move.
Yeah, eating through the Beheaded's Exceed mode, +1 power, +1 speed is really nice. It always feels good. Oh, not sure what's going on there. Ah, step back and another EX attack. Mad can probably figure out what this is. Looks like he's trying to decide. Probably if a, what do we see? Launcher. So we have a speed 8, power 4, actually power 6 launcher into a salt shield. Oof. That hurts. Assault shield is at 3 armor and 6 guard. So he's going to chew through 3 of the 6 damage from launcher and then gain 4 power. So he sits on 3 naturally, goes up to 7, which will hit for 6 because of armor, if I'm doing my math right.
That was quite a play.
If I'm mad, this is absolutely wave of denial. 100%. GG. And
Wow,
Mad
that was
takes
an
it.
exciting finish. Yeah, that was a great match.
So we see MadFnorder taking it over Hyakinthus 2-1, with the winning fighters being Beheaded and Minato. What a great set. Definitely a fun way to start the tournament off.
Well, it was fun to help commentate. Thanks for letting me join in a little bit. Take care.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're going to sign off, but that was Hyakinthus into MadFnorder for the first casted match of the tournament. And we see MadFnorder come out on top. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to bringing more content to you as the tournament continues.